Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, at the outset, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on the Railway Budget 2016. The first point I want to make is that rail is a public transport and the public transport must have public characteristics. Public transport cannot be sustained without budgetary allocation and support. This has been the worldwide experience, but unfortunately, in the last 3 years, there has been a paradigm shift from the fundamental conception of Indian Railways being a public transport. Looking at railways as essentially commercial entity is fundamentally wrong. Now, having hiked the passenger and freight charges several times prior to the budget, it was only natural that further hikes in the budget were not announced. The people of India were hoping that the budget will address the issues of expanding railway connectivity and take substantive measures for improving passenger amenities. On both these counts, the budget was very disappointing. Most importantly, given the alarming rise in rail accidents, it was hoped that better measures for ensuring safety standards and financial allocations for enhancing safety measures would be taken up. Unfortunately, the budget does not generate any great confidence amongst the Indian people for whom the railways constitute the most important link in the country's connectivity and therefore its unity. The most worrisome aspect of the budget concerns the financial health of the railways. Last year's performance has been much below the anticipated earnings by the railways. Both freight and passenger earnings have significantly dropped, and the gap between the budget estimates and the revised estimates of railway revenue is around a massive rupees 17,000 crores. Further, the railways require around rupees 32,000 crore to fulfill the obligations and recommendations of the 7th Pay Commission. This means the railways are starting the new financial year with a shortfall of nearly rupees 50,000 crores. The shortfall, the Honorable Railway Minister hopes, will be bridged and surplus funds would be available for improving the railways through a massive dose of PPP and by selling the assets currently held by the Indian Railways. The PPP model has globally proved to be a failure in improving the railways all across the world. Selling assets is like selling family silver to meet the day to day expenditure. This makes neither economic nor common sense. What has been the experience of FDI and PPP in other infrastructure sectors like airport and seaports? The cost of the consumer has basically grown manifold. The Honorable Railway Minister praised the railway workers as the mainstay of the Indian Railways. This, however, appears to be a mere lip service. Most of the services have already been privatized, and the remaining few are also to enter the PPP mode. The workers discharging these services do not have any protection and in some cases are not even paid the stipulated minimum wages. This does not augur well for the future health of the Indian Railways. My party has all along demanded that the Indian Railways must maintain its role in providing better services to the people as its foremost objective and not be reduced into a mere accounting exercise balancing its revenue and expenditure. Given the fiscal constraints and the overall economic slowdown in the Indian economy under this government, relief does not seem to be forthcoming soon. The consequent increased burdens on the people, the privatization of its assets, and the abdication of the responsibility towards its workforce together mount a further attack on the Indian people who are crying for relief. Developing infrastructure and filling up of the necessary manpower was a dire necessity, but it has been forgotten. Sir, 3 lakh vacant posts are mainly concerning maintenance and safety standards. Regarding safety, there is a failure. The credibility of the railways has been zero. Commissions were set up, but through these commissions, nothing has come out. Employment could have been generated by filling up these posts, but nothing is done in this regard. Financial efficiency of the railways is dependent on freight traffic. Industrial development is also directly proportional to this traffic. Over the years, Indian Rail has been lagging behind in completion with the road traffic. Resource mobilization segments like port connectivity, mines connectivity, power plants connectivity are eyed by the PPP and the FDI because ensured commercial returns are there in these sectors. Once this section goes into the private hands, things will become more untenable. Consolidation and expansion needs to be the slogan of the day, and unfortunately, in this budget plan, expenditure is almost negligible. Now, if we compare ourselves with the People Republic of China, China's yearly outlay is 116 billion US dollars and ours is around 12 billion US dollars roughly. Freight traffic is 3 times as ours. And most interestingly, the point with which I had started, the public transport must have a public characteristics. You must not look at the public transport as a commercial entity. If you look into the railway in China, it is run by the China Railway Corporation. It is the national railway operator of the People's Republic of China under the Ministry of Transport, and everything is under the government control.